Printing money is bad,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's inflationary.
Mm-hmm.
But borrowing printed money is insane. When they quote you the debt, they say debt held by the public is right now about 14 trillion,
Right.
and intergovernmental borrowing, which includes that $3 trillion Social Security
That
Trust Fund,
pesky social $3 trillion.
we owe it to
Ooh,
ourselves.
we do.
So what that means really is,
Wow.
in our
Wow.
mind, we separate those entities, and in the government's balance sheet, they separate them that way for you. They say, okay,
Nice of
we,
them.
you debt held by the public, you individually are holding about 14 trillion of the national debt, of which China holds a trillion, by the way, for those who are
Mm-hmm.
really worried
Japan
about
has a
their
trillion.
total. Yeah,
Japan has a trillion.
the Federal Reserve holds more than anyone,
Three or four.
except the intergovernmental borrowing, right? Because that figure, if you, I don't know if you have it up yet, I think it's probably $6 trillion, somewhere thereabouts. So not only do we owe the Social Security Trust Fund 3 trillion, but we owe the other 170 odd trust funds another 3 trillion. So the hole is quite deep.
You think?
Yeah, and what's
Well, you know what
critical
you
here?
do? You just keep digging. Is that the old saying?
Right.
How that
Yeah,
goes?
that's it. That's it. Just keep digging. Yeah.
What do you do when you got to hold this thing? We just keep
Yeah, just keep
on.
digging. Yeah.
Well, isn't that what you do with the fiat system, right? You just
Well, that's the only thing you can do. And that's because you don't create the interest when you create the loan. There is never enough money.
there's just no way out of this
So
thing.
unless new debt is issued and new money comes into circulation,
Just
there's no way for current borrowers to pay any of their obligations. So you kind of
so I
put the
mean,
curse onto the future borrower.
so if there's no way out of this fiat system, as you've talked about since I've known you, let's see, how could you lose buying gold or silver?
Wow, is this a commercial?
It's a
Holy
commercial.
cow.
I mean, no, I mean,
That's no,
not
that
even
is
coins,
seriously.
but
That's the way that I've
I mean,
looked
that's
at
the
it.
way you've looked at it. I mean,
And then
seriously.
I asked myself that same question.
Even
How
if
could
even
I
if you sold
lose?
cars for a living,
How could I lose?
how could you lose? How
Well,
could
here's
you
the
lose?
answer to
My
that.
listeners lose if they bought even though-
Stacks of gold
even
and silver.
even if they just did a chunk of
Right.
gold, no coins. That you don't sell chunks and
Okay.
put it under their bed.
Yeah.
10 years from now, knowing what we know about this system, how could that gold go down? How is it even possible in value? I mean, I guess it is. Is it
You got that thing firmly on the tee there?
on the tee?
Yeah, you've teed it up nicely for
I've
me.
teed it up nicely. I mean,
Yes,
but
yes, because this is
people
exactly
should understand this.
during the
though.
Wild Wild West, 77 to
You know,
80.
they should understand it.
I didn't care. Krugerrand, Maple Leaf, ounce of gold.
Oh, you didn't care. You just
I didn't
bought
care.
gold, man.
Everything was in the same category.
That's what
It
bought
was.
gold. Yeah.
St. Gaudens, it didn't, everything was in the same category. And so it didn't matter. But then the things started happening. Well, first of all, if you study history, you'll realize that in 33, Franklin Roosevelt made it illegal for you to own those bars of gold, bricks of gold, blocks of gold, Krugerrands, if they had them then,
Good for
Maple
Franklin,
Leafs, right? And so that was something that could happen. And I realized, wow, could I save all this money and then the president signs an executive order and takes it? Could that happen? Sure, it happened already once in history. And so then the numismatic angle came in. And that was about the first time, I think, early 80s, when I read that, actually read 6201, Roosevelt's executive order. What exactly was he recalling? He was recalling gold. He wasn't recalling coins of unusual collector value. He wasn't calling the Louis the Cateau's snuff box made of gold or grandma's jewelry. He was only calling in blocks and bricks and bars of gold and silver. Well, gold in the case of Roosevelt's, silver in the case of LBJ. So that was what could happen if I just bought blocks of gold, bricks of gold. But I grew to appreciate the rare coins, and of course, the rarer they were, the more I appreciated them, how rare they were. And I look at some of the rare coins then versus what they cost now, and I kick myself. I really do.
Don't
I
do
could,
that.
I could,
Don't kick yourself.
35 years ago, I mean, it went by in a flash, and some of those high-end rarities that even I didn't have the guts to buy, well, they've really outperformed everything else. It's amazing. And the best is what I've gravitated to, and the best and the rarest is always the best to have. So that's kind of my philosophy. And if you must just buy silver or you must just buy gold, then I urge you to make it monetary gold, numismatic gold, semi-numismatic gold or silver, that at least has a monetary value and you have something to hang your hat on other than that greedy gold hoarder has been hoarding those blocks of gold. We're going to tax him or her, or we're going to take it from them. Who's going to complain?
And then if people don't want to buy numismatic stuff and they just can't get their head around that, which what you sell, you'd still be better than to do.
Yeah, I'd steer them into semi-numismatic.
Yeah, but even that, I mean, if they just wanted to, they didn't want to do that at all. They didn't want to. You'd still be better getting stuff from the mint, Krugerrands and stuff
made by the mint.
Rather than a bar of silver, right? Like you see at the central bank sold or something.
Well, the Krugerrand I wouldn't put in that category because it is from South Africa, and we are in the United States. So if you were in South Africa...
You'd rather do a mint thing if you're not going to do a
United States mint,
right.
Monetary gold or monetary silver is my preference. Why would I pay a manufacturer to set up a factory and strike things into known quantities of silver or gold? That's the job of the mint and the Free Coinage Act. So they've been doing that since 1792. And they don't charge for bars, except today. You know, back in the day, pre-64, quarters, dimes, and halves were churned out of the mint, made of 90% silver, with no bar charge, other than a slight seigniorage, the difference between the cost to manufacture and the actual value. The Treasury, the mint, kept nothing. So it was the free coinage of silver and the free coinage of gold. That's one of the fundamental functions of the government. You're a miner, you find this gold or this silver, you bring it to the mint, we refine it, strike it into known quantities so that our people can use it as money, and we put it into circulation. And in the case of the silver purchases, this was beautiful. You bring your silver to the mint, they hand you a silver certificate. You go out and spend the silver certificate. By the time you do, your silver is already made into silver dollars sitting in bags waiting for anybody to come and take it. Wow, what a great system. It worked fantastically.
What a great system.
Until they put in the Gold Standard Act of 1900, shot William McKinley, and then crucified us on a cross of gold for the next 35 years until the Federal Reserve gained complete control over the monetary system and the gold corner. And then they simply issued way more notes than they had gold to back it up and took over the entire United States economy.
And then the birth of the central banks around the world, where central banks monetized debt.
Yep. That was 12 years after the Gold Standard Act of 1900, which, the crime of 1873, we talked about that in the past, where they demonetized effectively silver. This was really horrific. And then the Gold Standard Act of 1900 took silver right out of the picture and said that, gold is the standard of the United States, gold only. President McKinley sent a delegation over to Europe to try to negotiate a bimetallic standard that utilized silver and gold. And, unfortunately, with his assassination, that kind of died.